Welcome to today's episode, where we delve into the complexities of Israel's invasion of Rafiah, a topic that is as contentious as it is critical to understand in the current geopolitical climate. Our aim is to unpack the multifaceted perspectives that make this issue so divisive and challenging. We'll be exploring the varying opinions on the ground, hearing from those who believe this campaign is of paramount importance and those who stand in opposition, deeply concerned about the repercussions. From the stratagems behind the Israeli government's actions to the heart-wrenching plight of hostages and their families, we'll navigate through the intricate maze of political, strategic, and human considerations. So stay with us as we embark on this balanced and thought-provoking journey to shed light on the broader implications of these events. Join us as we seek to understand, not to take sides, and to consider the profound consequences of the decisions made today. At the heart of the conflict lies the city of Rafiah, a place now caught between military strategy and the cry for peace. Israel's invasion of this area isn't an impulse of war, but a calculated move aimed at achieving objectives deemed vital for national security. The Israeli government asserts that such actions are necessary to neutralize threats posed by Hamas and other militant groups operating within Gaza. These threats include tunnel networks used for smuggling arms and facilitating attacks on Israeli soil. The officials in Tel Aviv argue that these tunnels, some of them stretching across borders, not only endanger the lives of Israeli citizens, but also undermine the sovereignty of the nation. The proponents of this campaign within Israel believe that a strong response is essential to maintaining the deterrence that has been built over years of conflict. Moreover, they see it as a step towards dismantling the operational capabilities of groups they consider terrorists. In the narratives that weave through the streets of Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, there is a common thread of the need for safety, a yearning for an assured peace that can be shattered by the presence of hostile entities right at the doorstep of their homeland. As we delve deeper into this background, it's essential to understand that Israel's perceived necessity of this invasion encompasses a spectrum of reasons, including geopolitical posturing, the protection of its people, and the long-term objective to cultivate a sustainable path to security, striving for a future where the threat of tunnels and terror are no longer looming shadows over everyday life. But these objectives sit amidst a web of regional tensions and human stories that compel us to look beyond the surface. The question of Israel's action in Rafiah is nestled in layers of complexity and contention. Proponents of the campaign argue from a standpoint of national security and survival. These supporters emphasize Rafiah's proximity to the border with Egypt and its key position as a conduit for smuggling weapons into the Gaza Strip. They hold fast to the belief that preventing armament smuggling is vital to ensuring the safety of Israeli citizens, particularly those living in communities near Gaza. From an Israeli security perspective, the operation in Rafiah is seen as a preemptive strike against looming threats. Backers of the invasion point to previous instances where disregarding security warnings has led to deadly consequences. In their view, taking firm action against Hamas and other militant factions is necessary to deter future attacks and to degrade their operational capabilities. Supporters of the campaign emphasize the need to focus on the structures enabling the rise of threats from Gaza. They argue that by doing so, Israel defends not only its current citizens, but also its future against potential increases in violence. Many Israelis feel a duty to their military and trust its defense tactics. They believe that a strong defense often requires offensive actions like the one in Rafiah. However, the debate is not one-sided. People recognize the complexity of such operations and their impact on the wider area. When discussing the importance of Rafiah, considerations of long-term peace and stability come up, prompting a national reflection on how to achieve lasting security. The emotional turmoil and distress gripping the families of hostages cannot be overstated. Each day brings an agonizing weight, fraught with uncertainty and fear. The loved ones of those held by Hamas are entangled in a situation where political strategy intersects with personal tragedy. Their voices, steeped in concern, echo a different perspective on Israel's invasion of Rafiah. For these families, the invasion is not a matter of national security or geopolitical maneuvering. It's a direct threat to the most precious element of their lives, the safety and return of their hostages. They worry that any escalation could provoke harsh retaliation from Hamas, risking the lives of the very individuals they hope to reunite with. The possibility of a rescue operation gone awry or a tightening grip from the captors in response to the military campaign haunts them, leading to sleepless nights and a desperate call for careful, measured actions. While some may see the invasion as a necessary step against a threat, these families see the potential cost of such actions through a personal and painful lens. Their dissent is a plea for consideration of the human stakes at play. They ask, is the pursuit of security worth the potential sacrifice of their fathers, mothers, sons, and daughters? Their argument extends beyond mere opinion. It's a raw and human appeal for a strategy that protects all lives, including those of the prisoners. And so, While the nation may debate the merits of the campaign, these families stand united in their singular focus, the safe return of their hostages from the grip of Hamas.
Neil Lazarus. Educating, motivating, challenging.
The Biden administration's stance on Israel's invasion of Rafah is one marked by disapproval and concern. The US government, under President Joe Biden, has expressed significant apprehension with regards to the escalation of military actions in the region. Washington's unease primarily stems from the potential repercussions on geopolitical stability and the delicately balanced web of international relations that could be affected by such a unilateral move. The administration's standpoint is that further hostilities may compromise efforts that have been made in recent years to foster peace and stability in the Middle East. The US has long been an advocate for a two-state solution and has invested considerable diplomatic resources in promoting dialogue between Israel and Palestinian authorities. The fear is that the invasion of Rafah could not only derail this fragile process, but could also ignite a broader conflict, drawing in neighboring countries and inflaming tensions throughout the region. Furthermore, the US is wary of the repercussions that military escalation can have on its own national security interests. Allies of the United States in the region, some of whom maintain delicate relationships with Israel, may be put in a difficult position, potentially leading to strained relationships. At the heart of the US disapproval is also a concern for the preservation of human rights. The Biden administration has emphasized a foreign policy that takes into account the human impact of military campaigns. The potential for increased civilian casualties and the exacerbation of an already dire humanitarian situation in Gaza elicit caution from the US, which fears the long-term consequences that such an operation could have on the civilian population and the indelible stain it could leave on international efforts to protect human rights. In summary, while the US remains one of Israel's staunchest allies, it views the ramifications of an invasion of Rafah as potentially destabilizing, risking the undoing of diplomatic progress, exacerbating a humanitarian crisis, and possibly creating a ripple effect that alters the landscape of international relations in ways that are difficult to predict. The Biden administration continues to call for restraint, urging all parties to consider diplomatic avenues to avoid an escalation of conflict that could have far-reaching and devastating consequences. Turning our focus towards Egypt, Cairo watches the unfolding situation in Rafah with a mixture of concern and apprehension. Situated next to the Gaza Strip, Egypt is especially wary of the potential for a sudden surge of Palestinian refugees across its borders. The memory of past influxes and the resultant pressures they have placed on Egypt's social services, economy, and security infrastructure remain sharp in the nation's collective memory. Egypt, in its own right, deals with a delicate balance of internal stability and external pressures. The prospect of absorbing a new wave of displaced persons amidst its already complex socio-economic challenges is a formidable one. It's not just a matter of humanitarian aid or the logistics of temporary camps. There's a legitimate fear that the arrival of refugees could exacerbate existing tensions within Egyptian society, between different communities, and also with the state. Furthermore, the Egyptian government is acutely aware of the risks that come with a destabilized border. Increased military activity near its territory invites the possibility of violence spilling over or insurgents using the chaos as cover to infiltrate Egyptian land. This is not a mere theoretical risk. Egypt's extensive efforts to combat insurgency in Sinai attest to their ongoing security concerns. In a region where diplomatic relations can be as volatile as they are vital, Egypt also has a vested interest in maintaining peaceful and cooperative ties with its neighbors. The Egyptian leadership under President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has worked diligently to broker ceasefires in past conflicts and mitigate tensions. They understand too well that an escalation on its doorstep could unravel delicate negotiations and undermine years of diplomatic effort. Lastly, there's a component of regional power dynamics. A crisis in Gaza could potentially reorient the power structures and alliances in the Middle East, presenting new challenges for Egyptian foreign policy. Unwanted instability could give rise to extremist groups, shift sympathies, and disrupt the careful balance of power that Egypt has sought to navigate. In light of these concerns, it becomes clear why Cairo views the current situation with a degree of trepidation. For Egypt, the stakes are high, and the ripple effects of Israel's actions in Rafah may be felt along its border and within its cities, impacting the country on multiple profound levels. In considering the invasion of Rafah, we cannot look away from the weighty humanitarian and strategic costs tied to the unfolding scenario. Every decision is a thread in the complex tapestry of the region's future, with each pull risking unraveling or tightening knots that have long been intertwined. On the humanitarian front, the impact on civilian lives cannot be underestimated. Damage to infrastructure, disruption of daily lives, and potential loss of life and limb cast a long shadow over short-term military gains. The international community watches, often helplessly, as images of suffering are beamed across the world, prompting urgent calls for ceasefires and peace talks. Moreover, the psychological toll on the people on both sides creates scars that can last generations, the trauma inflicted on children today manifesting as deep-seated hostility tomorrow. Every operation that places civilians in the crosshairs deepens the divide, making future reconciliation a further reach. Strategically, the region rests on a knife's edge. Israel must balance its quest for security against the international community's tolerance for actions deemed heavy-handed. Actions in Rafiah might bolster Israel's security in the short term, however, they risk fueling further extremism, as a cornered adversary can become an even more dangerous one. Egypt's restiveness serves as a warning of the domino effect in play, as it braces for potential floods of refugees and the societal strain such an emergency might cause. It highlights a universal truth. In the interconnected opening chessboard of Middle Eastern politics, a single move can unintentionally checkmate an ally or give an unseen advantage to an adversary. Understanding these risks isn't just an exercise in peering through a geopolitical lens. It's a necessary step in protecting the delicate fabric of nations from irreparable rips and tears. Each course of action carries a price, be it in human lives, regional stability, or the long-term prospects for peace. It's a stark reminder that what may seem like a solution today could well become tomorrow's challenge for Israel, for the Palestinians, and for the entire Middle East. As we reach the end of our discussion, it's clear that the invasion of Rafiah is laden with complex concerns and consequences. From Israel's security stance to the pain of families with loved ones held hostage, and from the diplomatic reservations of the United States to Egypt's fears of a refugee crisis, there are myriad factors at play. Any resolution must be approached from a balanced perspective, considering the humanitarian and strategic costs that come with such high-stakes decisions. Ultimately, for the benefit of all parties involved, a path forward must be charted with prudence, empathy, and the hope for lasting peace. Thank you for joining us to explore the depths of this issue, and we look forward to engaging with you in future discussions on matters that shape our world either in person or by Zoom.